So I started probably about a little bit over a year and a half ago is when I started like myself. I was using Audacity first, and that's was like what I was recording, like all my remixes that are on my YouTube channel, like all of those were done on Audacity. But then it got to a point where my computer broke that I knew Audacity and like had Audacity on and shit. That computer broke and I had a remix scheduled to drop later that week. And I was like, oh fuck, like I can't even record. Like I've already tweeted like, oh, I'm putting a song out Saturday, but now my computer just shit on me. And I was just like, oh my God, like what am I gonna do? So I already had a Mac that I was only using for like, just like editing videos and just like using a computer, just like bullshit. And then I was like, all right, now I need to get Logic. So I bought Logic and I started with that. And like at first it was so like intimidating, like looking at that compared to Audacity. I was like, what the fuck are all these knobs and buttons and volume switches? I'm like, oh my God. So I used basically just YouTube as a beginning thing to get myself started on it. And that was just for vocals. But I guess as a artist, I've always been really hands-on with production. Like when I'm in the studio with a producer, I'd always be like, yo, like what if we had a horn that did this melody? And then it always turned out that my ideas would kind of work themselves into what we were working on. So I always knew that what I was hearing in my head was making sense. So if I had the ability to do it myself and get it from my brain to the computer myself, I would probably be pretty good at what I want to get out. And so in the studios, I was always like looking over the producer's shoulder, like low key, like seeing what he's doing and why he's doing what he's doing. And I was always asking a million questions. You could even ask the homie Goldman. I literally used to annoy the shit out of him with the amount of questions I'd ask him. But he's like the homie, so he was like very helpful with like being cool about it. And I came home, my dad got me this piano for Christmas 2 years ago, and I've been working it in with Logic. And from that point forward, when I got Splice, that's when everything changed, because then I had whatever kick I wanted, whatever snare I wanted, whatever hi-hat I wanted. Like that's when I was able to get like the more modern sounds. You know what I mean? I think creatively, it's always been there. And I always kind of knew that. Like I always knew that there was something about the way I created that was different. And I still to this day never really could pinpoint what that was. But in my town, there's a lot of people that made music, a lot of people with the dream of like making music and making a living out of it and being a rapper, like the typical dream, you know what I mean? And it seemed like they were always trying so hard. Like, and when I was in high school and I started, like, I didn't go into it with the mindset of I'm going to be a famous rapper. Like, that's what I want. Like, the end goal is for me to be a poppin' ass rapper. It was more so of, I was just talking about how I felt, and music just so happened to be the vessel of me doing that. So my goal and mindset was never, let me do this to get this out of it. It was always, I'm just doing this for what is happening right now. And I wasn't really thinking about, oh, like I'm going to get followers through this streaming service, or people are going to listen to me like all through here. Like I was just pushing SoundCloud, and that was a fault on my end business wise. But at the time I didn't give a shit. Like I was just doing it because it's something I wanted. And I feel like that was able to be recognized through the music. And it's something I wasn't conscious of. Like I wasn't like, oh, they're trying super hard, let me not try as hard to, you know what I mean? Like it was just natural. And that's when I kind of knew like this shit is what I was made for. Like that's my purpose. Like there's not a coincidence there. From my perspective of it now, the biggest lesson is your time is gonna come. If you keep doing it for the love of it, and you're not just like, expectations always lead to being let down, because you never reach, like your expectations will always be through the roof. And then when you get to that point, it's just like, like what? Like, it's not that crazy of a thing. Like, I guess for an example, like if the whole time I'm like making music in high school and I'm like, yo, I can't wait for like my first show. Like it's going to be in Jersey and I'm going to have so many people there that are going to be screaming my songs and I can't wait for that to come, like yada, yada. And like, that's what I'm doing this for. Like, I'm going to get that show. And then you get 2 years into it and like some things start happening and yeah, like it's exciting and it's like everything you're thinking about. And then the second like that show comes, it's like, it doesn't hit the same because the whole time you were just like, this is what I'm expecting. And maybe it's not even the thousands of people you thought were going to show up. It's 500. And you're like, fuck, like this show's only 500 people. Like I wanted it to be 2,000. But if you just do it for the love of what you're doing, that 500 people, that's 500 heads that showed up to your show to sing every word. And you're going to bring that energy. Like if you're going there expecting all, like everything at once, you're not going to appreciate the steps it takes to get to where that is going to take you. And I feel like that was a big lesson for me is like, yeah, like obviously have high expectations for yourself, but don't have high expectations for what's going to come to you as far as a career, like achievement. Like those things will come if you just focus on the foundation, which is the music. For example, Juice WRLD, rest in peace, but his song Lucid Dreams came out in 2016, I think it was. And it wasn't till it was 2018, right? When it popped, it was a few years after. Like that song was out forever and it just wasn't the multi-platinum song that it was, but eventually, and he's been making music even before that. It's like everybody that's out there 99% of the time has been doing this, even though it may look like he just snapped and everything happened for him at once. It's like everybody's been doing this shit and they're waiting for that moment.